Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Today I'm answering a question that I had been submitted to me, I think in Instagram. Can you keep track of patterns of a narcissist? Do narcissists use patterns in their abuse? And can you tell the next pattern based on the time frame? And the answer to this is yes. Yes, you can. And in fact, I encourage people to do this for a few reasons. Number one, sometimes when we're with a narcissist, we've already made up in our minds that this person is normally the person who they are during the love bombing stage. And I'm going to explain the stages in just a second. But you decided that this person is who they are, who they truly are, and that you can do something to kind of make them be that way all of the time. So if you are thinking that to yourself, then you should be one of the people who keeps track of narcissist behaviors, and you should keep track of the schedule. Sometimes we should do this if you are already planning to leave a narcissist. Let's say if you are living with a narcissist especially, and you are planning to leave the narcissist, and there is any chance at all that there might be a court proceeding around you leaving the narcissist. So if you guys are married, if you have children, any kind of thing where custody situation, it doesn't even need to be the narcissist children. This could be like your in-laws or something like that. Maybe they're narcissistic. It doesn't matter. If you're living with a narcissist, and you leaving could potentially spur a court case, you should keep track of narcissist behavior. And if you are in the extreme gaslighting phase of this whole thing, so you can't really tell what to believe or what's actually happening, you can't tell if you're interpreting events correctly or if maybe you've misconstrued the way that they meant or did something towards you, you should definitely keep track of the narcissist behaviors. And by the way, people in that phase, well, let me just say this. I was once in that phase. I was not sure that I was even trustworthy to myself. And the way that I got out of that situation was journaling and keeping track of things that the narcissist said and did. And I started opening up and telling my close inner circle about what was happening. My best friend, I told my mom. So there were some people that I started to tell about what was going on. And I kept track of every kind of thing that was happening as well, because it's a very scary thing when you think that you cannot trust yourself. And for me at the time, the job that I was working, I needed to be fully trustworthy in myself, and I needed everybody else around me to be able to trust my decision-making process and capabilities. So it was really important to me that I got to the bottom of it, that I figured out what was happening. So if you're one of those three, I mean, anybody can and should keep track of the narcissist cycles, and especially if you think like the next time and the next time and the next time, it'll change the next time, it'll change the next time. If you think that way, you should keep track of the cycles. This is actually great to do, as I said, because it really gives everybody's looking at the same thing then. If you can keep track of these patterns, and especially if you plan to, if there eventually might be a court case, you will need to know the patterns of how the narcissist behaves, because this will drastically impact what's going on in your court case. Even if everything gets settled, let's say you guys, that exact thing happened, you guys went to court, and now the case is settled. A case is never really settled for the narcissist, but if you can keep track of what's going on, and their behaviors and their tendencies to cycle through their phases, you can be more prepared ahead of time to anticipate what the narcissist could be putting together, or what their next move could be. So those are the reasons why you should keep track, or anybody, especially if you fall into one of those categories, you really need to be keeping track of how the narcissist behaves, because being aware of the fact that you're in a cycle, an abusive cycle, is going to be the first step needed for you to do something about it. So if you are just going to ignore the fact that there is an abuse cycle happening, you're never going to be faced with the issue that you're dealing with, and therefore you're never going to make a change, whether that is to leave the narcissist, to find a different job, to move to a different state, whatever situation and solution to that situation that you need to find out, you're never even going to go venture down that road if you don't truly understand that there's a real problem going on. So yes, if you keep track of the narcissistic abuse, you will notice that there's a pattern. And typically, I know that there's several other models. This is the model that I like the most because, yes, while multiple forms of abuse can be happening all at the same time, there's going to be one mode that sticks out the most during each of these phases. So the first phase is love bombing phase, which is that, everything is amazing. They'll do any kind of thing for you. They make you feel like you're the only person on the planet, that you're the most important thing to them ever. It is a very fast and furious relationship. So it doesn't need to be a romantic relationship. I just want to caveat that. This can be, you came into a brand new job, they promised you all of the things, you got all of the stuff, and things are going great. Your boss loves you, everybody around your work loves you, and then you move into the devaluation phase. The devaluation phase is going to be filled with things, and it depends on the type of narcissist that you're dealing with and the personality of that narcissist. So some of them will do name calling, some of them will start setting, just backing off of the love bombing. So let's say they set up an appointment with you, maybe you're going to go to dinner, but then they won't show up or something else will happen. They'll start making little comments about you, even things that don't even matter so much, oh, did you clean the kitchen today, or whatever. But they'll find little ways to start putting down you and your work. One thing I want to make sure that I mention is that every time the cycle goes around and around and around, this is how it will build. So the things that you experience the first time that you go through the devaluation phase will be escalated the second time and escalated the third time, and so on and so forth. They build on one another. So the things that you think, oh, they would never do that, you're going to find out a few cycles later, they absolutely would do that. So that's the devaluation phase. Basically, they make you feel worthless. Then that will be followed by the discard phase, and the discard phase is when there is some sort of disconnect. This can be the silent treatment if you live with a narcissist, where they ghost you, they just stop responding to you, your texts, they don't answer your phone calls. Even if you live in the same house with them, they will just completely avoid you. If you're talking to them, they'll just pretend as if you literally don't exist. This will go on for some time. Now, it's important to know that a narcissist never doesn't have a supply. So a narcissist has a supply during this time, is my point. So even if you're married, and this is going on, the discard phase is happening, know that the narcissist is with somebody else, and potentially even multiple people, that there is always a supply for the narcissist. And the reason that you even got to the discard phase is because the narcissist wants to intensify the love bombing phase with that supply. Everything is going on in a cycle. So the same cycle that you're experiencing, more likely than not, many other people are experiencing the same thing. They're just in a different phase of this cycle. After the discard phase is the hoovering phase. The narcissist isn't willing to fully disconnect from you. They still want to know what's going on with you. They still want to be able to keep tabs on you because they're going to come back eventually. So this is going to involve third parties, which we call flying monkeys, basically sent out every now and again just to kind of test the water. Or these can be people who are actually harassing you on social media and And pay attention to which one of these it is, because the narcissist is trying to drive a behavior from you. So they are trying to get you to do something through the third parties. So this can be any kind of thing from, okay, the third party, they just texted me just to see how I'm doing, right? Like the narcissist mother messaged me just to see how I'm doing. And on the surface, that looks like normal, right? Like, oh, well, I've known her for a long time. She, of course, cares for me. She wants to know how I'm doing. You need to understand that this is not your perspective. You must think about these things from the narcissist point of view, because if you don't, you're always going to have just a very limited portion of reality that you're willing to look at. So think about why the narcissist mom would be messaging you, for example. The narcissist mom could be just even dropping hints like, oh, you know, he's miserable without you, or whatever. It can be any kind of thing. It's designed to drive you to do an action. Same thing with harassment online. If the narcissist has flying monkeys, constantly doing stuff to you on social media, the narcissist can be trying to drive you as, again, the narcissist in their own mind is always the hero. So they could be driving you to message them to make this stuff stop, to make these people stop messaging you, stop harassing you. You need to understand that a lot of times narcissists are using flying monkeys unaware to them. The flying monkeys are not aware that they are doing these things in order to get result A for the narcissist. The narcissist has just planted little seeds in the flying monkeys' minds through conversations that seem very innocent. Again, they're also only going to look at their narrow point of view and their narrow scope of reality of what's actually happening, and they'll just take that information and act on it. In other cases, the flying monkeys can be overtly supportive of the narcissist and his or her goals, which you, again, should be aware of. And you're only aware of that if you pay attention to these cycles. Usually during like the devaluation phase, you'll find out how other people are behaving around this type of behavior. How do they respond to the narcissist when these types of behaviors are exhibited? They might not be overtly done in the presence of third parties. However, there's always going to be a giveaway that that's the phase that you're in, which, by the way, the hoovering phase leads you back into the love bombing phase. So the narcissist will always come back, and that's exactly why I try to tell my clients to go no contact. If you don't have children, if you don't have a business interest, if there's no legal reason that you need to stay in contact, you need to shut the door to the narcissist. Let me give you a quick example on this just really fast. Let's say I leave the front door of my house open, but just a crack. I'm just leaving it open just a little bit, not all of the way. But I see some robbers coming down the street, and I know that they're coming to rob my house. Do I continue to leave the door open, just a crack? I'm not leaving it open all the way, just a little bit. No, obviously I would shut the door, right? I would make sure that the robbers cannot come in through the window, through the doors, whatever. They'll have no access to my house. So then why do you leave? Oh, I'll just, leave one social media unblocked. I'll just block them on all the social medias, but not block their phone number. I'll block all of their things, but I'm still going to be in contact with their best friend, their mom, their sister, whatever. You're still leaving the door open for this toxic behavior, which it is only a matter of time that the narcissist starts to cycle again. And if you haven't learned anything about how to behave differently when these different phases are going on, then you're literally inviting the same phases to go on. So you shouldn't be surprised when every time that you go through these cycles, it's getting worse and worse. And that is standard, because the narcissist is constantly going to be finding what they can get away with. And this is why, even if you do have to maintain contact with a narcissist, like you have children together or whatever, you have to have strong boundaries. And that's because the narcissist will absolutely try to move the boundary. Absolutely. That's what a narcissist does. So you shouldn't be shocked if that also happens. Like, well, I set this boundary and I told them not to do that, and then they went and did it. Like, yeah, that's exactly what they do, because they test the boundaries. If you have been tracking behaviors of the narcissist, take a look at when you first started tracking the narcissist behavior and what these phases look like. Well, I bet they look a lot more intense, a lot more extreme now. That's because the narcissist, number one, they learned and got better at their craft every time that you allowed them to practice on you by doing these cycles to you. And number two, you've told them you can get away with it, you can get away with it, you can get away with it. You've moved the boundary. It's not the narcissist. The narcissist is doing what the narcissist should do. I have a trust, I have a course on trust. And one of the things that just blows my mind about people is that they only use trust in a very like positive way. Like, oh, I really trust that person. And that inherently means it's a good thing. Like, we're very close and I can tell them any kind of thing, or I can be around them without feeling unsafe, whatever. You know, that's not the actual definition of trust. The actual definition of trust means that you know and you can rely on that person to behave a certain way. So in this instance, you can actually trust the narcissist. You should trust the narcissist, that they will continue to behave like a narcissist. They are not going to be the ones to change. So if you want to change, you have to be the one to change. But yeah, it's so anyway, words matter. Knowing the definition of those words, they matter, because the way that you will interact with a person that you consider, and many people would say, well, I don't trust a narcissist. Well, it depends on what you're talking about. Do you trust the narcissist to, care about your feelings and take care of your needs and do all that kind of stuff? You can trust that they will not do those things. And you can trust that in this instance that the narcissist will not change. And if you need to track it in order to trust your judgment on that, then you need to do that. Do whatever you need to do to come into the fullness of the reality that you're living in. Because again, if you're just going to look at the love bombing and you want to ignore the other 3 cycles, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're putting yourself in a bad situation. And if you have children, you're really putting them in a bad situation, because they're also learning what's happening in the home during all of these cycles. So they're either learning how to treat other people, or they're learning how they should be treated. So yes, can you track narcissist cycles? Yes, you can, and yes, you should, because it's again, you might need it as evidence. You might just need it in order to have that boost of confidence to take the next step, or to make a change for your situation. So yeah, I'm a big believer in tracking it. I believe in journaling. I talk a lot about that on this channel as well. It's an amazing tool. So you guys, I hope this video has helped you understand a little bit about how and why you can track narcissist cycles and what benefit this has on you. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel below and turn on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel.